Good morning. We're here to conduct the February 24th meeting for the California Board. I will ask for our secretary, Victoria, to call roll.
Mark Jones. Victoria Brash. John Finn.
Yeah.
Brett Watson. Vijay Kanani. Yes. Leonard Mnuchin.
Here.
Robert Furman.
Here.
Delta Serrano. Rod Speaks.
Here.
Bunny Ward.
Here. Thank you. We have a forum our like the first thing, Chief Patricia Problem, I'm sorry, Vice Chair of the LATC for this morning. Be advised that all motions and seconds will be rendered. All votes will be taken by roll. Also note that like at this time. So, not discuss or take action on the section, except to decide whether to in session and or that or as for any being seems that makes it that's a second secretary.
Ron Jones.
Yes.
Victoria Brown. Yes. Tian Finn. Brett Gladstone. Vijay Kanani. Leonard Mnuchin.
Yes.
Robert Furman.
Yes.
Delta Serrano. Yes. Rod Speaks.
Yes.
Bunny Ward.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. So we'll now go to agenda item E, updated discussion for committee meetings for the National Council of Accredited Correctional
Sure. So this is just an item we have on the agenda for any members who are on any of the committees, if they don't give any updates. I'm on the exam committee. We don't have meeting, so we're discussing making changes to potentially the exam process as NCAR update adopts its new competency model. That's the big process, but we have a multi-year change will probably be a small change to the ARE before change to it. So that'll be all. And then I know that Sean puts on some committees. Do you have any update for us?
I'm on the Union of Committee and for the community was focusing on the summit. Less than 10 days in that area. So that there is no controversial or life with any delays on some of the resolution, 5 resolutions that we will put forward at each meeting to review. These resolutions actually, actually already also emailed out to all the so I see couple or they'll have different documents of the any problem with the company with supporting content on presentation still almost like housekeeping. So anyone interested in this stuff, maybe one of those can take questions. Or not. That's good.
And we'll put the resolutions on the next board agenda for discuss them in detail, or they're voted on at the and Guardian will name too.
Thank you. I have a question for those who will be attending the next 10 o'clock meeting. I'd like to remind all of you that we are still committed to DEI and that it's extremely important to us and that when you're there to push that agenda to ensure that more women and diverse people are part of this amazing fact and that we do not let the tail wag.
On the credentials committee, we had a information seminar yesterday, which I could not participate in, for folks running for the board with this position, the term in June. Anyone can still run really up to the last minute, but there's looks like some competition for the secretary post, three candidates running, and at large position that was established last year, those candidates are running again. So there'll be a looks like any part wide webinar, I think in April, where the candidates ask questions, watch it, to give their opinions on that, so you can help guide in a further decision as to who will support.
Any questions or comments?
So just a reminder that NPARC sent out an email and I was looking for it, but asking for volunteers for next terms. The deadline hasn't passed. I would encourage all members to volunteer. It's a wonderful opportunity to say thank for activities. Have a voice. Thank you.
Peter?
Yes, I'm on the continuing education task force of NPARC. I'm inviting you to give me any comments, any issues, anything you would like on behalf of the board to be taken to that body, because we are working on the new format of continuing education course.
I just want to echo Laura's point. I think a few, I called all members of the board to ask if they had any personal interest in serving on either West Harvard and Carlson committees. I think all of you who basically responded in the affirmative, and I look forward to your participation. I think it's also worth noting again, just in 2 days, West Harvard is next weekend in Philadelphia, and in Carver is June in Arizona. So we will now open the floor for public comment.
We need people to.
We can just simply say public comment and public present.
It appears that there's public participation in the room today, so we're going to, again, just divorce ourselves from that comment going forward until a public does show up. So just for the record. Thank you all. They will now go on to the strategic plan agenda item back.
Thank you. So, board members, the last meeting, we had a strategic planning session, so our facilitators took all the work from that and put it into this document, which is in your packets today. So really, it's just an opportunity for the board for any last minute comments, if you have any questions. And then we need the board to adopt the strategic plan I do have one suggested edit, which is on page 8 of the plan, under goal number 2. That I think that 2.3 and 2.4 can just be combined and really eliminated 2.4. Because it was that was also in reference to seeing if we need any changes to adapt to AI or any new technology. So I would suggest that we just eliminate that objective 2.4. Any members have any questions on it? Well, I would suggest eliminating it because I think it's covered by 2.3, but we could refer 2.3 if you want to combine them.
I would suggest that we allow staff to review. Forward to ensure it's covered, that is probably covered. Any objections to that? No. Any other suggestions?
So Stu,
Please.
was the people specifically related to new technologies?
Well, right now, it's not really referencing anything, and it seemed vague, so when I asked staff, they said they had recommended it really to respond to AI or any technology, so that's why it seems kind of, just looking at a 2.3, but if there's something you want that in 2.4, you think that we should look at, we could also make that change. Because with staff, it's covered by what's in 2.3.
May I make the motion that we accept that idea and combine 2.3 and 2.4 and also accept, and with that, accept the strategic
Adopt the plan.
Adopt the plan.
Been moved by member Ward and seconded by Bang. We have Secretary please call roll.
Ron Jones,
Yes.
Victoria Brown, Tion Fei,
Yes.
Brett Roxton, Mitra Kanani,
Yes.
Leonard Weekend, Robert Ehrman,
Aye.
Nova Serrano. Yes. Bob Stevens,
Yes.
Sunny Warren.
Yes.
Thank you. We will now move on to the committee reports.
Actually, Jessica Claxton, our assistant executive officer, will present the update from LATC. They did their strategic plan, and we also should provide some plans as well. Are there muted? Right, vice person.
I'll just, kind of move over. It's not center of the GMP and. So LATC held its first meeting of the year on January 31st. They met online by WebEx. The budget was provided by the DCA budget office, which showed a solid fiscal outlook for LATC. The business modernization project has been fully implemented, and we are now in the maintenance and operation phase, which addresses the functionality of the finance system. And the committee reviewed and updated its strategic plan, its draft strategic plan that was created during the November 2024 meeting. LATC is moving forward with implementing the 4 goals of its draft strategic plan, which is from 2025 to 2028, which is 1, licensing and professional qualifications. 2 is regulation enforcement. 3, public and professional outreach, and 4, administration and customer service. The work includes establishing a new LATC newsletter, developing an outreach plan, creating a social media engagement plan that will include gathering input from followers on content they would like to see. And LATC is asking the board to approve that strategic plan in this meeting. And LATC's next meeting is currently scheduled for May 16, 2025, and they're planning for a virtual meeting. Krista, do you have anything about that?
No, I just want to, share that, representing the LATC, that we really look forward to, communicating and collaborating with the community. Thank you.
So, so just add for this item, so LATC discussed the strategic plan at the last meeting. So now we're asking the board to adopt it.
So again, there's no public participants in the room, so we won't miss it. Bypass that requirement, but we will ask the Disney comments from the board.
I'd like to make a motion to, approve staff recommendation and,
Second.
Then move properly second.
Confirming the motion is to adopt the strategic plan for LATC.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, second.
Will Secretary please call roll?
Ron Jones.
Yes.
Victoria Brown. Yes. Tiana Fang. Brett Rossom. Mitra Kanani.
Yes.
Leonard Manugian. Robert Bierman.
Yes.
Nelda Serrano.
Yes.
Bob Sweet.
Yes.
Sunny Ward.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
We will now move on to the executive office.
Thank you. So I'm just gonna run through the highlights of the report. To ask me if you have any questions, they go through. Let's see, we met in December in Sacramento for strategic planning. We've seen that at the end of January to discuss their strategic plan. We'll have a budget update at the next board meeting, but we increased our, about a year and a half ago, so we'll have an update on the condition next time, but things. We did a staff met with the budget office recently, and got an update after the governor's January budget release, and things are looking fine. This time. As Jesse mentioned, for LATC, we kind of finished the first phase of our Connect business modernization process. We do have a little bit more coming online, and we're now in the maintenance and operations phase. So we incurred a little bit additional functionality. Moving on, next page, we have some personnel updates, and then our social media statistics. We did a awareness hangout. We need to boost our followers. We'll work on that.
So on the personnel, so
Yeah.
we have two openings still being filled, you mentioned.
How many openings we have?
We have 1 in 14. I believe that's it.
Yeah, so that's the first one supposed to be on the Andrews on my left, or first meeting in it, so that would be it. Yeah. And then we have regulations, but we have a few on the agenda later, so I'll let him give us an update on those, and there's some for board action. LATC does not have any training regulations. So moving on to licensing and exam statistics, you can see the CSE data, I will just note that the reciprocity repeat has a low, it looks like a low pass rate of 53%, but there are only, it's a small number of examinees, total number of 17, so wouldn't say that's necessarily like representative of candidates, it's a small pool. Then you can see our ARE data for California candidates by division, and then on the next page, the comparison to the national rate, that's actually has improved. Which is, I think, good news for California candidates, or potentially maybe bad news for national candidates. I'm sure. It's less of a discrepancy. And moving on with the LATC data, so similar for the CSE, also for repeat testers at the local percentage. And then the LARE data, there is currently 4 divisions. So you can see it broken down that way with a comparison to the national and California rates. And that also has fit. And LRE is going through a restructure where they're going to have different formats, so. When we get the first, as those results come in with the new format exam, we expect it to be able, for classmates to be a little bit lower as given and adjust. Any questions? So moving on to enforcement, you can see our complaints received, number of citations issued, we have, we had a lot of, we've been doing C audits, we've had some, see the citations that are listed separately there. And then onto landscape architects, which does not have CEs. You can see the most common violations are stay pretty consistent for both architects and landscape architects. And then on the final page, you can see the enforcement actions for. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Laura. I see that we can have a member of the public attendance, so we will now open the floor. So we now open the floor for public comments. No comment, so we will now open the floor for comments from the board.
There is something I forgot to add to the report. So, I don't know that we had a lot of outreach in there this time, but, I was going to mention that DCA has been coordinating on behalf of the administration response, to the LA fire. So we have, put some information on our website, the governor's issued new executive orders, in response to that, our licensees. So, you know, work with the department, all the direction as to how to see what we can do to assist people who are impacted. We are implementing executive orders, which includes a deferral of the renewal fee for those in impacted areas. And so we'll put more information on our website that get us for the area for people for information, for assistance, and if any ideas that members have, if you have any suggestions for us, please send them to me. We can put it on a future agenda as well, if you want to talk to us more in depth. And Ron had a good message he wanted to send to the board for our interested parties that once we're out of the initial response phase, which DCA asked us to hold off on, then we could send out and ask for assistance from licensing and helping more covered.
Sorry to bother you. You need to be a little higher. Thank you.
I would like to ask the architects in the room what we can advise our constituents or our consumers, what they should have scanned should something like this happen to help them. They need their electrical plans, their plumbing plans, anything that might make life a little easier for them. We don't have to. Next time, but just so that we start thinking about what is important for folks to have.
So if you have, yeah, any suggestions you have, you can send to the follow, start over again.
So it is worth noting that there is documentation already on.
We do have some.
And I think it's good information. I think the communities Laura mentioned, I actually encourage practice to the record. Those who have suffered from the disaster to look through the website for that kind of information. So I think the more robust it is, the better resources it could be for those who have
So,
yeah.
Mr. President, I'm seeing that the AI amended here. I would also know that we have MOUs with AI in California, which is the organization always in the forefront of responding to these major natural disasters and have programs to help both practitioners and victims of the fire. And so we don't need to do this at all, okay? I simply refer to AI as resource previously for help. And the spell with that. Scott, I remember, there was a involved.
Yeah, and to that point, the AA is actually area network, is what it's called. It's got maybe you speak to that, but I'm interested in that, in that organization. So I think that you're right, saying that, not only AIA, but there are other allied organizations, and even state organizations like ALIC, that we should be not setting money that are stolen, these being constructive and strategic in our engagement. I think the AIA is doing a good job of laying the ground over in that regard. So I would.
If I can finish, I was, that's a great idea to provide victims all the information that they need to rebuild. But I was talking mostly about those that have not been impacted, that they should prepare and be ready, should something.
So you definitely look at the answer.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
How many license outfits?
About 22,000?
I'm looking at the social media data. You show on LinkedIn, we have 3 posts and 637. Are these additional 637 followers, or this is the total followers we have?
Yeah, not all our listeners follow us.
Yeah, I'm thinking, we have 22,000 and then only 600 followers. What can we do to, improve our presence? First, how to analyze the data from, one term to another. And how the data, like maybe graphic format. And then what can we do to increase our presence on the social media and communicate, much more with the community, licensed outfit, and even those that are not licensed who are interested in getting the license. What can we do to improve this, improve communications, reach out to more and more people?
That is part of the strategic plan, as you all know, and we've had a lot of conversations about that. Laura and I have talked about that offline as well. So I think that keeping score, I mean, that's our scorecard. That tells us and the public how well we're doing in that engagement. We have to improve. I just think that that's just the bottom line. We've talked about in our strategic plan about ways of doing it. And so I'm hoping that going forward, that we talked about last time, about revamping our web page so that it's a landing page, or part of a landing page where providing additional data of the engagement with other packages. So I think, and we also are going to try to heighten that term leading in on our public engagement, both in terms of thousands of universities, allied organizations, using allied organizations really as a springboard. So, and the fact of the matter is that some of our posts, we could ask allied organizations like the AIA to put it on their site. So I think that there's things that we can do to improve our public face. But it requires that we just keep leaned in. And so we talked about a lot of options during that strategic plan. Laura's working with staff to basically figure out, she emailed me recently to say, well, what might that new landing page look like? What would be ideas? So we are looking at that. But I think it's still.
But again, social media is like a very wild animal, okay, and it requires experts who know how to elevate a certain form, how to, show it on whatever media we're showing it. And we may, like, here, we're going to rely on some sort of like chain point. But if we, maybe recruit or hire somebody, especially even if we are volunteers who are interested, somebody who knows how to manage, data,
So-
that would be great.
Suggestion, in between this meeting for adopting it and our next meeting, staff are going to meet with our facilitators and we'll develop an action plan on implementation. We'll focus a little bit more on this aspect and break down a little bit more the outreach and communications and include social media, and we'll come up with some ideas as we continue. I don't know, I'll be in DCA, assist with that, if not, we'll take it differently and see what we can do.
Good point. Thank you.
So I understand that you had a letter prepared and after. Say, you say stop and send that.
Well, and I think the point that I made earlier is that we want to be, DCA wanted us to be careful that we weren't getting ahead of the parade. Is that they wanted, or
Stop and send.
well, to the extent that they wanted to make an ordinance matter, so they didn't have to be saying something different than other members.
No, we started
So I
at 10.
thought that it was appropriate, but my bigger point was that we need to engage. And so I think Laura's conversation with UCA is that they support the engagement, but in a more strategic and planning way.
They really want to separate like in the recovery, like the immediate, like instance information versus like kind of the longer term recovery. Making sure we're doing okay. So they didn't say we actually, which just basically does it. With all of it.
People get easily confused,
Yeah.
especially when they're out of mode or they're in stress. So I think having a clear. I just wanted to ask some question, how would this from our following funding? So, yeah, so this is part of the reason why we're not getting more followers. We can't have the community do it if we're not going to.
But we also need to make sure that our constituencies believe that we provide relevant. And so the key is that we have to be relevant both to the public and to those who, to the public and to our practitioners. So that they're looking to us for information, looking for guidance. And right now, it's just our brain. We have to be elevated our brain. I think the strategic plan speaks to the fact that we are a regulatory body that sits at the desk to do our job, take fees and administer the examination or oversee the administration of the examination. But I think ultimately, we have to basically piece our feet. I think this board and the staff are doing good work. And something we're making sure the public understands what we're doing. And that's what I think.
I mean, back to the executive office report, I have a big question about last time.
Yes.
And then we found with the, right, and also the, so it's a hard enforcement, everything.
No.
It's one part that's important. Okay. So question number one is, what is the monetary limit over the fine? I don't know, 4,000, 40,000? What is the?
So this is the 2-count citation, and I think each count can generally speaking, be up to $2,500 and a few percentage or like that. So we found 2 separate violations, which is why it's up $4,000. So and,
Unless you have some.
yeah, and then if it's like a repeat offense or something.
So that's quite open. So I see this is what on the bridge. It's like this, like 3 months to 1 and I think that's probably and also our swimmers. A little bit, so a little bit public support. So if you're licensed, you have a complaint, it will be on your record. And the rules. But now, like this, it's an annual wage that is just what we call it, missing information, where time discloses.
It's only going to appear on our website. So the complaints don't appear, but the citations that are closed here on our website for 5 years. You can find it if you search the person's name, but because we don't have this look up for it,
Yeah.
it's not anything else with it.
But it's in a general public sense, if you're close, if they get you. So it's cheaper than tomorrow, yeah. It's the same thing.
Yeah, we would hope that the consumer learns to check to see if the person is white.
That might be something.
Doesn't find a mistake.
I can just add, so, and I did want to be clear, a complaint isn't necessarily submitted publicly because we need to investigate it first. And if it's not anything that can be substantiated and whatnot, then no one knows anything, except that it's kept internally. It's only posted online when it becomes a formal accusation or a completed citation, or an adopted decision. So, I don't know about any particular formal action, but I do know that it's on the table and being considered to add unlicensed persons on some sort of search database. So that we can expect nobody to matter. I know that the idea is voted, that's just, I know, but I do know that it's on at least somebody's radar.
Can I, at some point, add this to our agenda items? Here for boards. With a comparable, support. Share.
And I'm going to come to you in a second, Victoria. I think the bigger question for me, and this is just sort of my application. Yes. These violations aren't. And so if this board's task is to protect the public health and safety welfare, then why would we?
So there is a statute, basically for all professions, that the unlicensed practice of a profession is considered a misdemeanor. But of course, we cannot handle that and have to go to the district attorney of the proper county, or potentially even the attorney general. A lot of times, if it's not something that's a little more obvious for, codes such as assault by a healthcare professional, where there's a little more something that can directly cite to the code of injury. District attorneys tend to be a little cautious about taking those until they start to get a little larger. But at any time when staff and or the board determines that it's appropriate, we can refer them over to the district attorneys to process as a criminal matter. And then it would be up to them as to whether or not they proceed to do so. The board does have the authority to take these citations and collect them through the franchise tax board for any refunds that these persons would get. We could then collect off of that in order to make sure, because technically, if someone did not pay their citation with a licensee, we could then proceed to an accusation to then either get their license on probation or revoked. Or there's actually a provision that we wouldn't even relicense them until they get their citation paid. But for unlicensed persons, obviously there is that stuff, yeah. So the franchise tax board collection can put a little emphasis on it. And then also we could consider taking it up to the deputy attorney general for potential civil litigation. But all of that requires, fact-based and usually a little bit large numbers as opposed to harm to the public for, $1,000, but coming up on 40,000, 50,000, somebody's injured, that person can also participate in a kind of public or civil action to try and get any kind of, what is the word I'm looking for? Restitution? Yeah.
I mean, my concern obviously is that that these violations on its face appear to be fixing things. You can pay a fine, you move the word architect, you're good, but it doesn't necessarily. The question ultimately, and I think this is what Tian is asking, is that are the fines large enough of a deterrent to discourage bad actors who have not been caught to stop? And so that's the prevalence of these acts suggests that what we're currently doing is just not enough of a deterrent. And I would recognize that trying to do more, I'll say a criminal referral, something like that requires resources and capacity. And so the idea that the state is or any local jurisdiction would assign resources to an act that basically for itself, on $1,000 fine by us, doesn't seem to go into quickly should be sort of, so that, something kind of seems to want to go around this. So I think the question ultimately is, how do we read, what is it that a deterrent? So I'm going to put it before.
If I may, so it wouldn't be based upon our citation. Our citation would be limited in statute, and we could pursue an attempt through the legislature to increase any kind of amount for unlicensed practice. But just because our citation is set at a minimum, the harm to the person would be what the criminal matter would be based on. So while we can only go up to a maximum of 2,500, if the harm to the person, or say an entire building collapsed because there was an unlicensed architect who developed that, that would be the basis for the crime and non-representation. So so what I meant was small amount where somebody built a shed or whatnot. The district attorney's talking about to take that. Collapse of an entire building, many people dead, they're taking that. But yeah, finding where it is, where we definitely see a civil issue or it's starting to build into something we are concerned about, it's where we could work with the district attorney to see where and when criminal efforts would be able to meet beyond a reasonable doubt and be able to be proven and et cetera.
I would be confident in the side, Victoria.
It was pretty much what you said. I do think we need to look at the increasing of the structure of citations, but I do agree it's not enough to deter people from doing it. And then I also wanted to mention with what Tian said about customers checking their licenses. You know, we're talking about these landing pages. That should be the first thing that our consumers see is make sure you check your license, check your person with a licensed architect for the work that you want to do.
And that's, and what this is so important, right now, I'm seeing tons of correspondence from individuals pursuing opportunities in Los Angeles. And I can tell you, I have searched these communications that come to my office, and I would say 4 out of every 10 are non-licensed individuals that are using the term architect in one form or another in their promotions. And so my concern is that this whole idea of communicating with the public is that we should be seeing that people be cautious. Recognizing that homeowners aren't required to have a licensed architect design homes, but there's certainly those people who present themselves as architects because of the validation of their role. And so I think engaging the public in a real way to make sure that they're cautious, particularly those in LA. And I tell people all the time is that I had this conversation with a psychiatrist a few weeks ago about mental health. There are those folks who really, their trauma is just in the mental state or emotional paralysis. So they become extremely vulnerable. And so those are the kind of things that we should be thinking about as well. So I'm going to just
Chair, if I may, I'm a little uncomfortable with how much discussion we're doing on an EOS update. We can put this on for a future agenda. So then therefore we can more freely discuss, and I'm sure that the public would want to be involved in a discussion like this. Beyond, I mean, obviously I can answer questions, or the EO can answer questions about the generic status, and obviously maybe remedies are better possible, but any further discussion, I'm a little uncomfortable of us talking about it being the agenda.
just out of respect to the people who have their hands up,
Yeah.
it was Sunny.
With that, no.
We'll close this discussion and Tim.
I just want to, everything you're discussing is on the strat plan for enforcement. So these are stuff that are going to be.
So we can talk about it later.
So we'll be like future agenda.
The strategic plan,
So I'm going to send it in also.
Okay, I'll try to make this brief. So I just think the great irony in that, we're consumer affairs protection and we're protecting consumers. But the jurisdiction that we have in this particular question, we're only able to sort of deal with people who are licensed and taking their best foot effort to follow the law. And we see this all the time. And, the things that do end up coming to the board, the things that our board spends, the money that our board spends in researching and dealing with this, and then ultimately sends it to the Department of Justice. So that end up as a parking ticket because someone hasn't put their license on
on a contract, but then the Department of Justice won't take someone who's practicing and hasn't gone through education and licensure. I mean, for me, that's like that great irony in that we all sit around this table and to some level waste our volunteers' time, but spend taxpayer money. So it's super frustrating. And I definitely like to be taken care of.
Nielsen?
My question is for our council. Yes, I agree that we should definitely postpone this conversation from not on the agenda. However, this is urgent and it needs to be brought forward a little bit sooner than waiting another 3 months to talk about it. People are in need now. What can we do to expedite the conversation around licensed architects?
So at any time, the board can create another meeting. This would not meet the criteria for a special or emergency meeting, so it would have to be a 10-day notice. But if the board would like to meet at any time after giving 10 days notice to have meetings sooner than 3 months, we can absolutely do that. But we're required by the Constitution to allow the public the opportunity to participate. Of course, we would like them to hear absolutely.
10 days sounds fair. Does it have to be in person or could it be done by Zoom?
It can be done virtually. However, if a majority of the board is not in one location, then each board member's location must be publicly noticed and available for the public to appear at that location. So, for example, you can list your home, but then you must open your home to the public to arrive and serve in your location. Most people don't want to do that. So you can set up, and depending upon where all the members live, you can also group members together at, say, a library or a hotel suite or et cetera to notice that location. And then, but all locations then need to be on the agenda for you guys to all of your group.
I would add that even executive that would go through regulatory enforcement committee, so that would probably be the most logical next meeting, is the first meeting to discuss, and they can meet virtually because they're in.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, due to what our attorney said, I'd just like to say I would like something to be on the agenda when this goes on the agenda, which is the topic of whether we're the right body to be doing this. The building department has access to the assessor's office of every property owner in Los Angeles, the greater LA area. And they have the administrative system to send out letters to everybody that we don't. And most departments have a budget for that. And I just wonder whether it's the building department that should send out a letter to all property owners saying, beware, there's lots of architecture to be done. Please be aware that people who represent themselves as architects, you can check if they are or not by going to this website, and that many people may make that representation. Anyway, just like to speak on that at the next meeting, okay?
I should mention that both the city and county of Los Angeles.
What's that?
I think that both the city and county of Los Angeles are actually doing a really good job at providing information to the residents.
On that subject too?
I just think that they've done the volume of information, both by the state, city and county, has been pretty impressive.
Oh, okay.
So I applaud them for that, but it still requires public engagement. And so again, I'm going to defer this conversation to a more planned opportunity. So is it green?
So it's very, the urging state and the necessity consolidate of all agree. And at the same time, it is, as Laura said, that the enforcement committee, not just table tech to produce a resolution. And so we can vote on that resolution at the next board meeting. So that is very efficient, and I trust they are very able body, together with staff, okay, they put enough of idea here, and that's my suggestion. All right?
Thank you. If there's no other comment, did we open up for public comment already?
We have not. Oh, wait, we did, but we've had substantial conversations since then.
And so, we will open the floor back up for public comment. If there is any.
I'll just quickly say for the disaster response resources, we're having a wonderful on whatever, syllable, and I'll send that over to Laura.
But might be.
You identify yourself, speaking?
Oh, yeah. Scott Turtle, Government Relations Director for AI California.
Thank you. So the only other comment, I want to make sure, that we don't overlook, and where I'll ask you to opine on this, the, comments by Steve Johnson, and that's something that we should be addressing this time about the other documenting car language.
That'll be during the regulation item. We've turned that done.
Yes, we haven't done it.
We haven't done it.
Yes. Yeah, we're this next. Okay, so we will move the agenda to item I in this step.
Okay, so the first agenda item is to discuss the public comment we received on the update to CTR 120, where we are eliminating the board's specific requirements for testing and taking and retaking the ARE. As it said, notice we would defer to NCARB's ARE guidelines instead of putting out our own prescribed rules, which will often conflict with NCARB's guidelines. So the proposed or the comment said we should continue dictating our own guidelines for passing and reaching source directly there. The board's decision, staff's recommendation is to reject the comment because we did take this under consideration and it is in the board's or candidate's interest to maintain the ARE guidelines as dictated by NCARB.
That the extent of your.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments, for Tim? Public, which is up first. Any comments or questions from the board?
I think we're on the right track. And I volunteered for them for almost. And I see how much they invested into the whole process. And we're a member of that organization. We should take advantage of. So we can save the resource with all of the issues such as just discussed. So we are part for us down moving towards that.
And that was included with my statement of reasons is we do have a voice when NCARB makes these changes. So we are present at the table. These are not just, at the whim necessarily.
And further, we also have a president.
My question, Tim, and to staff is how then do we engage or do we in fact communicate with Contour? That we respond to them directly?
I would have a proposed response, which is the materials. I would send that to the person who commented.
Okay. I thought that was directed to us, we would be sitting next to that.
Yes. Yeah, I would
They'll respond on behalf.
Any other questions or comments?
Does it require action by us to approve it?
Yes,
It does.
so the fire.
So the motion
I
suggested.
do have a suggested motion I could read out loud.
I want to move the motion. And it's your committee.
Direct staff to provide the proposed response to the written comment, take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking process, delegate to the executive officer the authority to make any technical or non-substantive changes to the regulations that may be required to complete the rulemaking file and adopt the proposed regulatory changes as noted.
What is that?
That you're moving it on.
Suggesting that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll start at the end of this, you know, that we accept the motion versus accepting the suggested motion, and then I think, member Ward basically said. We have a secretary call vote, please.
Ron Jones,
Yes.
Victoria Brown, yes. Keon Feng,
Aye.
Brett Gladstone,
Aye.
Mitra Kanani, Leonard Manukian, Robert Bierman,
Aye.
Melza Serrano,
Yes.
Rod Smith,
Yes.
Sunny Ward.
Yes.
Excellent. So we move the agenda. So now we're going to discuss, is this, I'm in the CC.
Yes, this is item 2, discuss the fees. So last February, there was a budget analysis prior to the board sunset bill. And as a result of that, we gained authority to charge a license certification fee for what staff prepares and sends out as requested by licensees when they're getting licensed in another jurisdiction or as needed by the licensee. This takes staff time to do, and we have been providing this at no cost. Budget's identified that, it takes time, staff time to do this, and we can recoup our costs for this. So this regulatory proposal puts in the $40 per certification fee that we are authorized to charge. Sorry?
What do you need from us?
Well, I need to,
Yeah.
We also have a suggested motion.
We know to just.
Is there any public comment? Thank you. There's no public comment. The chair will entertain the suggested vote.
To approve the proposed regulatory text for section 1.4, direct staff to submit the text to the Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency for review. And if no adverse comments are received, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to initiate the rulemaking process, make any non-substantive changes to the package, and set the manner for hearing if requested. If the board does not receive any comments, providing objections or adverse recommendations specifically directed at the proposed action or to the procedures followed by the board and proposing or adopting the action during the 45-day comment period, and no hearing is requested, then the board authorizes the executive officer to take all steps necessary to initiate the rulemaking process, make any technical or non-substantive changes to the package, and adopt the proposed regulations as section 1.4 notes.
Moved by second by
Just one more reminder from people who's watching, sorry about that. Thank you.
Been moved by member Serrano, second by member Gann. And I will ask that the secretary call for the vote.
Technically, we are supposed to ask for public comment after
After the motion.
the motion. Motion second.
No public comment. Thank you.
Ron Jones,
Yes.
Victoria Brown, yes. Keon Feng, Brett Gladstone,
Aye.
Mitra Kanani, Leonard Manukian, Robert Bierman,
Aye.
Melza Serrano,
Yes.
Rod Smith,
Yes.
Sunny Ward.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, so we will now go on to item 1I. You read it.
This is a proposed regulatory action to allow candidates an extension for their application period with the board, which currently candidates must take an examination at least once every 5 years to have their application remain valid with the board. We did not previously have authority to extend application expiration dates in case of an emergency, state of emergency. We were granted that authority with our sunset bill, so this regulatory proposal gives the process for a candidate to request an extension to an application period.
And I'm going to apologize because I didn't highlight it. I just wanted to confirm that the current ordered by the governor was in response to the Indian disaster in Los Angeles. Does this give us flexibility beyond that? Meaning that, are we still, we still require a declaration by the governor before we can apply this?
Yes.
And so we would always require a declaration of some form.
Yes, it calls back to the emergency powers of the governor, but you declare the state of emergency. Right.
Okay.
And it can be located to certain areas as well.
Okay, thank you.
So he already declared a state of emergency on January 7th. So if this were in effect, what we're proposing, that would be enough to then grant some of the extensions.
Yes, they would reach out to us and request an extension.
But this is not, this regulation is not retroactive or will it take effect, so to speak? So
This would have to go through the process, which will take up to a year.
okay. So that means that to the extent someone wanted to have that relief, we can go on back on the prior way that we had, which is less long.
Until this is approved.
Yes, so it's the proof.
And so, but in the meantime, that's just hypothetically, if something happened in San Francisco, the governor just simply announces another declaration in which this still applies to that event. But until it's established statutorily, then, or whatever it's legally, then you always have to wait for that declaration regardless.
Yes.
That's the trigger.
Yeah.
And if I may, generally, the governor and DCA are very cognizant of when there's a call of emergency to include that in the emergency order. But theoretically, the regulation would allow us to do it as appropriate, even if somehow the order is either delayed or was not.
Okay, that's what we're, okay, that's all. Yeah. Any public comment?
Just quickly, Scott Terrell, I'm the American Institute of Architects, California. We believe it's an important tool to have in place, and we thank you for taking this action. Thank you.
Any comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, the board will ask for the reading of the suggested motion.
So suggested motion is to approve the proposed regulatory text for section 109. Direct staff to submit the text to the Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency for review, and if no adverse comments are received, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to initiate the rulemaking process, make any non-substantive changes to the package, and set the matter for a hearing if requested. If the board does not receive any comments, provide any objections or adverse recommendations, specifically directed at the proposed action or to the procedures followed by the board in proposing or adopting the action during the 45-day comment period, and no hearing is requested, then the board authorizes the executive officer to take all steps necessary to initiate the rulemaking process, make any technical or non-substantive changes to the package, and adopt the proposed regulations at section 109 as noticed.
I so move.
That's moved by Sherman, and second by Banks.
And the motion is longer than the content.
Right.
We take roll.
Ron Jones,
Yes.
Victoria Brown, Tian Bang,
Aye.
Brett Gladstone,
Aye.
Mitra Kanani,
Yes.
Leonard Manukian,
Yes.
Robert Pierman,
Aye.
Nelson Serrano,
Yes.
Bob Steve,
Yes.
Sunny Work.
Yes. Thank you, the motion carries. Thank you, Sean. We will now review, meeting dates for agenda J.
If you help them listen.
Yes.
Okay, so June 5th, the staff is proposing to meet in Sacramento. That is certainly open to whatever members would like. We don't have a location for August. In November, we're also suggesting Sacramento. So keep in mind, if we meet in Sacramento, we have the ability to have the WebEx option for public participation, which we can only do if we're at a DCA location. So
So is it this August, we can try to,
Yeah, where would members like to meet? What area?
I'd like to just meet and, either at a junior college and. Obviously.
Yes. Yeah, we met at Dazzle Valley Club before, which is a little bit further out, but yeah, there's.
If you want.
Okay.
Relations are.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we meet at stage one of the junior college.
Somewhere in the Bay Area, roughly, yeah. Okay. And are members fine with September, I'm sorry, with September for the June meeting?
Yes.
And then, one member's request, we are finishing on November 6th, so we weren't meeting during the holiday. Because one is request.
Yeah, you can go, everybody wants that.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments about the full page of public meetings?
Any reasons,
I have.
August, and it's supposed to be on September, right?
We moved it up a little bit since we moved the meeting to the beginning of November, just so we.
It's just a proposal. Maybe it would be if we are holding the session in a junior college, it would be very enlightening for us to have presentation from one of the high-ranking individual involved in the architecture program at junior college. I think it was a lost opportunity for us to have someone from Mesa College because there are some issues involved related to four-year degree, the colleges to turn to four-year degrees. So this is something that maybe the board should get abreast to related to the conversion of two-year degrees to four-year.
Yeah, that's actually a part of the strategic plan as well, to be
Yeah.
able to lean in on the sort of after licensure.
Exactly.
I think you've already communicated that now there's a full treatment of junior colleges.
Yeah, we're not waiting to do that.
So we'll continue to lean in and encourage and advocate that transition and that path to licensure. But I agree, this is a beautiful campus. This is my first time here. And I would agree that it is a missed opportunity for that. So, any other comments about the public dates and locations? There's no need to get the action. I think that concludes our public agenda. Any comments from the public? Thank you. That concludes our public agenda. We will now go into closed session. Can I give it time?
Yeah, it should be here between now and 1:30.
So we'll wait for lunch, and then once lunch gets here, we can do it in title of the village. We need to do so, and by then, lunch should be ready. And we can.
Yeah, you can have your lunch before.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you all.